Hey there, this is Brandon back again. I had a really good conversation last night about products and what it takes to make a product successful. Um, just so we can ground ourselves in the definition, a product is a good or service that provides value to a customer. And the conversation that I had was about what's the right process or recipe to creating a successful product. And in the last 10 or so years, I've been building a lot of products for people. And what I've learned is it's all about learning. Specifically minimizing the cost of learning while building that product through the scientific method. Your job as a product creator is to deliver what your customers actually want. So I have 4 keys that I'd like to share with you that I've learned over the past 10 years that I think might really work for you. Number 1 is to be humble. You're probably not smarter than your customers, or at least you don't necessarily know exactly what they want. And I think it's time to admit that your hypotheses that you have about your product are just that, hypotheses, and they might be wrong. There are a lot of cases where we think we know more than our customers do, and we sit in our rooms and we design our products and we have their best interest in mind, of course, but a lot of the times we can't always put ourselves exactly in their situation. And there's a big difference in what I can see between the way that a customer thinks they want to use a product or tells you where they want to use a product and how they actually use it. And so the first part here is to really just admit to yourself that you don't know everything and that you have something to learn through actually deploying and releasing a product and then listening to your customers. Number 2 is listen. Your customers will always tell you what they want. They have needs and they're more than happy to tell you about it, and they're always looking for a solution, and your job is to connect their problems with a solution. So they're happy to talk about it. Now, I will note that there's a nuance here where you want actual feedback from a product, from a tangible product, not necessarily hypothetical. A lot of people go around and talk to customers and think they're doing their due diligence and research ahead of time, they're asking the right questions, and if they get 100% of their questions answered, that means their product is going to be perfect. In reality, the way customers actually use products is different from the way they'll tell you they're going to use it, this hypothetical product. So make sure you're testing actual products on actual people and getting feedback from that. And your job during this phase is form hypotheses. Again, what you're trying to do is create hypotheses that you're going to either accept or reject further down the line, which are going to further hone what your product is. Number 3 is measure. What you want to do is create a testing plan by which you'll accept or reject your hypotheses. Remember, your job here is to learn. And whatever you do with whatever you learn is going to go back into your product. Now, the key, I think, here is not only are you creating a measurement plan that you're actually going to execute, remember, that's how you get to learning, but also in the process, you want to exert as little energy as possible. You probably have limited funds, limited time, limited team. And so using your resources effectively to make sure that you're getting to learning again, minimizing the cost of learning here, you're trying to understand what it is your customers actually want. And the only way to do that effectively is to measure it with a real product. Number 4 is don't fear failure. It's only really a failure if you didn't learn anything from it. And consider the fact that failures aren't really mistakes, they're really rejected hypotheses. Your job is to learn and understand what is going to work and what isn't going to work for your product, and to apply that effectively to improve the product over iteration. And keep in mind that iterating is not going to hurt your brand. A lot of people fear this, and it's really not true. I think the experience you're trying to provide is every time you deploy a new version of your product, every time you iterate on it, your customers are continuing to get more value for something that they've potentially either already paid for in terms of software, or you're creating more brand value by creating a better product down the line that people are talking about. So don't fear the early mistakes, because those are ultimately what make better decisions down the line, or at least influence better decisions down the line. Don't be afraid to get yourself out there. And again, when you do that, the other flip side of the coin is here, you have to measure, you have to talk to your customers and understand how they're using it, potentially even watch them using it and get a lot of insight out of it, because that's the only way you're really going to build an excellent product. To quickly wrap up here, we've gone through 4 keys. 1, be humble, admit you don't know everything. 2, listen, Talk to your customers and form hypotheses as a path to learning. 3, measure. Test your hypotheses by expending as little energy as possible. And 4, don't fear failure. Just make sure you've learned something along the way. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to follow me on Twitter @BrandonBarnett. Thanks very much.